So guys, in today's video we are going to talk about analog read, how we can read an analog signal. So let me just first explain this schematic here. Here I'm using a potentiometer since I want to use it as an analog signal that varies. Remember that when we talked about analog write, that it has a 8-bit value, which is from 0 to 255. That is just the scale of analog write. So but now we are talking about analog read, and an analog read is a 10-bit value, which means it has 0 to 2 it has from 0 to 1023, right? So 1023, it has value from 0 to 1023. So that is the scale of the analog read. Then this thing over here is for us to communicate with our serial port. So you will see the serial monitor displaying the value that we are getting from this analog pin. So since we are not using an actual Arduino board that will help us to see the value on the Arduino serial monitor, so I decided to use the serial monitor of this simulator, which I connected the transmitter to the receiver and the receiver to the transmitter of this visual terminal or visual monitor, whatever you can call it. So let's go to our Arduino IDE and see the code that we are writing on how to read this analog signal. And remember that Arduino can only read from 0 to 5 volts. Arduino cannot read more than 5 volts, because if Arduino read more than 5 volts, it will destroy the Arduino board. So the value of the value that Arduino can read is from 0 to 5 volts, which I set this DC supply to 5 volts. Let me show you. If you look at it, you see I set it to 5 volts, and then this is the ground. I'm using a 1K port, so this will serve as our sensor or anything that has analog signal. So let's go to our code and see what is going on. So here is the code. Let me first explain what is going on. First, we set the pin mode. We are using analog A1 pin, so we set it as an input. Then since we want to display what we are reading in the serial monitor, just like this Arduino IDE has a serial monitor, but we are not making use of actual Arduino board, so we have to set this serial port. So I'll set it serial.begin. It will initialize the serial communication, and this 9600 is the speed rate of the communication. More about serial monitor in our upcoming videos. So here I set serial.begin, set the speed. Then in the loop, what I did is just I declare a variable, which is val. This is just the variable name to store this our analog read. So this is our analog read function that is reading from A1 pin. Okay, then we have to display the information, the signal that we are reading from the analog pin, using the serial.println. This serial.println means it has to print it line by line. So then after that we put a delay. This delay is just for us to see what is going on, for the thing not to be fast enough. So we just delay it a little bit so we can see what is going on. So this is the simple code. Remember, this is our variable we use in reading the analog signal using the analog read function. Then we have to print it to the serial monitor. So after doing all that, you save and export it. So let's go to our simulator and see what is going on. I've already bound the code inside this microcontroller, so let's simulate it and see what is going on. So as you can see, the serial monitor has come up. You see it. So, and remember I told you that the analog read is a 10-bit value, which means it's reading from 0 to 1023. So because this variable resistor is turned down to ground, that is why it's reading 0 volts. That is why it's reading this 0 value. But if you try to turn it up, you will see that the value will be increasing. As I just try to turn it up, tune it, it will be increasing. If you look at the monitor here, you will see the value. I know you might be confused, why is it not showing actual voltage? Because if you want to convert it to voltage, there is a method you will use, which I'm going to show you also in this video. But I'm just trying to show you how this analog pin read a signal. So let me try to turn it all the way up and see what is displaying. You can see it. So let's see what is displaying. I think I need to move this thing a little bit fast. Alright, so just be watching the value that is displaying, is reading from this signal. Alright, so I'm still turning it up. I'm still turning it up. The more I turn it up, the more the value increase. So I want to show you the highest value that it can read, which is that 1023, which is the highest value that the analog read function can read. So now the resistor is now 100%. Let me move this over there. You can see that we have turned this resistor, this port, to 100% value, which is reading 1023, which is the highest value it can read. This is the highest value. It cannot exceed it. Nothing will make it to exceed it. So that is the signal that is reading from this analog pin. Then let me also show you how to convert this signal, this number, to actual voltage. Right, I will show you how to convert it to actual voltage. So follow me, let's do it together. First I need to pause this thing, then go back to our Arduino code. So now see, I've already written down some code, but I'll just explain that. I just commented it, but I will delete it. So since we want to convert this analog signal, the analog signal that we are getting from here, we want to convert it to actual voltage, we have to use a data type. Remember what I said, how I taught you how to use variables and data type. So now we are dealing with floating number. We want to store a floating number, which is a decimal number. So for us to use a decimal number, we need to use a decimal data type, which is float. So here we use an integer to store the value because it's not a float number. Then we have to declare a float. This is a local declaration, a local variable, not a global. So we have to use the float. Then I gave it a name, a variable name, which is volt. I use it as a volt. Then we use 5 points divided by the highest value, because we want to get a voltage from this thing. So remember to put a decimal point so that the compiler will know that we are dealing with a floating point. If not, it will give us an integer number. So what we have done here is that we say that this volt, which is our variable, we now divide 5 by the highest bit number of the analog read bit value, which is 1023. So we have to divide 5 by 1023 and multiply it by the value that we are getting, by the signal that we are reading. Remember, this value, this here, is the signal that we are reading. So any signal that we are reading will be replaced in form of this, just like the way I taught you how variables work, right? So we are going to divide 5 by 1023, multiply by this our reading, the reading that we are reading from here. Then we have to print it in the serial monitor, right? But we are not going to use this. We are going to use volt, because this is what the actual thing we want to display in the monitor. Then what I have to do is just to copy it and do what, and place it here, paste it. So this serial monitor will print the value of this thing. It will convert it to voltage instead of the number that we are seeing. So it will convert it to the actual voltage. So let me save it and also compile. So I have to export and compile it. So let's wait while the the Arduino IDE is compiling the sketch. So let's wait for a little while and wait while the Arduino is compiling the sketch. So the sketch is done compiling. Then we go to our simulator. Then we have to import the file, the hex file. So this is the hex file. Alright, then let's simulate and see what is going on. Let's simulate and see what is going on. You can see we are getting 5 volts. So we are getting 5 volts. So if I reduce it, the voltage will vary. You see 4.96 volts. So it's giving us the actual voltage of this power supply. So I'm going to talk more of how to read AC voltage, DC voltage using Arduino. But I just want to show you the basic explanation of this video is just to show you how to read analog signal. Okay, so let's turn this down to maybe half of the voltage. As you can see, I'm turning down the port. So the more I'm turning down the port, the more the voltage is reducing. You can see it in the serial monitor. Let me turn it down to 50% and see what is going on. So I'm turning it down. Let me turn it down to 50%. So 50%, and we are getting half of the voltage, 2.5. Alright, this is the 50% that we have turned down our port. So we are getting 2.5, half of this supply voltage. So guys, this is how to read a signal from Arduino analog pin using the analog read function. So see you in our next video.